Welcome to Please Me, the podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sexual education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap one empowering conversation at a time. Last week I interviewed Brittany Carmichael, who talked about her incredible goddess retreats, how to hone your pussy power, and why healing from trauma is essential to embracing your true authenticity. This New Year's special was a must-watch and can be viewed ad-free on Patreon. See show notes for the link. Please Me is for mature audiences. Sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
It's not like she cheats. She tells both of them they're not exclusive. What was also very important to me in the book was that everyone needed to communicate.
Hello, and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to Mia Sivan. She's a former professional investor turned author, and she loves bringing readers into her fast-paced Tel Aviv financial world through her steamy contemporary romances. And I have been reading her first book called Crunching Her Numbers, and this has been a really fun read so far. I have to say I have not finished it yet, but I am excited to continue finishing this book because it is a lot of fun. And I just want to bring you on, first of all, and just say hello. How are you today, Mia?
Hi. Hello. Happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. And I want to talk to you more about why you decided to go from the financial world to becoming an author. Talk to me about that a little bit.
It's not like it's mutually exclusive.
Absolutely not. Everything is interconnected, right? We all have sex while we're working, no matter what kind of job we have, right? So,
and I think that sex and money and are both a way to show power in relationships. And so I don't think that it's such a huge leap to go from this to that. Except, of course, I didn't have any formal education in writing work because all of my education was centered on finance, BA, MBA, etc. And so when I did that transition, I had to learn a lot of new things, craft as in writing a good book, and then building a new milieu because all of my friends, everyone I always meet with and interact with are actually from my old world. So I needed to build that as well.
Amazing. And you're absolutely right. Sex and finances can go hand in hand when you're talking about a power exchange, right? And I just love the heroine in this particular book because she is on a journey of her own sexual exploration and sexual liberation, which I can completely relate to because I feel like that's where I've been. That's been my pocket since I got divorced. And I've learned so much about myself. And it's like she's learning about herself and what she loves and doesn't like. And she's very much in the world of BDSM. Can you talk to me about how you brought that content into your book?
I thought she's a very strong woman and she makes a lot of money, which women that make a lot of money are not as common as men. Usually we make less. Usually our position is weakened because of that. So in that respect, she comes from a lot of power. And if you read the book, she starts as a dominant.
Exactly. I love that.
That comes more naturally to her. When her girlfriend asks her, what? I know you're not going to be a submissive. And she says, are you kidding? Of course not. I'm going to be a dominant. And she goes with the younger guy who's poorer than her, looks up to her and thinks she's the sun and stars. And in that respect, they have a very unequal relationship, which again, I wanted to reverse because we are so used to read about the other way around. The man is strong and much more and richer, and the woman is younger and poorer. And I did it totally consciously. I wanted to reverse that. Of course, as happens in romances, she learns that her younger, poor partner can teach her a lot, right? There is that. And then because she is who she is, one guy isn't enough.
And she's such a strong, powerful character. And I love that you say that she's not enough and, or that one person wasn't enough, because she also ends up exploring with another person as a submissive, which now we see her as a switch. She can be dominant. That's her primary comfort zone. But then she tries something different and she becomes a submissive to this other partner. And I love that she is playing on both sides of that, because we're not so black and white, right? There's so much gray in the middle. And I love that she's really exploring and learning. You want to just talk about that a little bit?
What I put my character through is she's exploring and learning her sexual, what she likes, what she is capable of doing. And at the same time, she's at a very stressful moment in her career because there's this huge investigation that is centered around her place of work. So this is a lot of pressure. And what she learns is that actually being submissive helps her to deal with the pressure that comes so much in her life. And I really liked writing this. I don't know where you are in the book, but she has a conversation with with the one who's going to be her dom, a master, and he explains to her why it is good for her to be a submissive, and because she's a very analytical person as well. It's not, yes, she's very attracted to him, but why would I do that? What are you going to do to me? What is it going to do to me? It was important for me to show. She jumps off a cliff. She just doesn't know it in a way. And then once she's in there, she starts realizing that she did it. She's as much a control freak as that older guy is. And letting go again is very good for her.
Absolutely, because you can't control everything in your life, right? And when you are so analytical and so in control of so many things, but there are things in your life that are out of control, like the whole investigation that's going on around her, sometimes you just need a stress relief, right? And sex can certainly be a way to relieve stress. And she finds that in this partner, which I think is so interesting. And she also is feeding her desire to be dominant as well with the other relationship. So it's like she's getting the best of both worlds in a way. And so
she still thinks she's in control. You understand that I can do everything. Again, she is very clear. It's not like she cheats. She tells both of them they're not exclusive.
mm-hmm.
What was also very important to me in the book was that everyone needed to communicate. I think I don't like miscommunication I don't like it when it drives a book. It can drive your real life. In real life, we have miscommunications all the time. When it happens in books, I just don't like it. It's okay, guys, just talk already. And so for me, I wanted them all to talk to each other. Everything is on the table, communicated, and it's in all my books, not just this one. It's when we write romance, we write many fantasies. And I think that communicating well is almost a fantasy sometimes, right?
For some people that don't communicate well, absolutely, it is a fantasy. And I love that you put it all on the table in their communication. And that's really what ethical non monogamy or polyamory is all about, right? And so this book definitely has an element of that polyamory lifestyle. And the communication is the foundation of any relationship, and especially one that's ethically non monogamous. And the operative word there is ethical, right? Everything is on the table. The relationship with both partners is on the table. She's telling them, she's being honest with them, and they're okay with it, right? I haven't read the whole thing, so I haven't gotten to the part where they're not okay with it. I'm at the very beginning of the relationship with the second partner, the more dominant
Slava,
partner.
the Russian
Yes.
guy, or
No,
the Israeli guy.
yes, exactly. The Israeli guy, the one that's more dominant. And at the beginning of that, I also love the play of different cultures in the book. And I think that is a beautiful thing, because when you're reading about a certain culture that you're maybe not familiar with, for instance, I'm not familiar with living in Israel or what Israeli life is, right? So that seems a little like foreign to me, right? But then you bring in a character from Argentina, and she's got a Latina vibe a little bit. And so I can relate to her more, and you're playing with the cultures. Is that something that you did intentionally?
Yes, it was interesting for me because both Slava, which is the Russian guy,
Mm-hmm.
and Kelly, who's the Argentinian lady, they're both Jewish, but they come from different diaspora, right? So they both meet in Israel, and actually the language that they communicate is Hebrew, because English in the book is Hebrew, right?
Okay.
English, yeah. The book is written in English, but of course you understand they all speak in Hebrew when they don't speak in other languages. Slava and Kelly both speak in a second language to both of them. So this is also interesting. And Ilan is Israeli. He was born here, but his parents weren't born here. He's a second generation only. He's from Morocco, and so he speaks French because Moroccans speak French. That's also part of his heritage and culture, being Moroccan and French. So yes, I wanted to have a multicultural book, and because for me, like when in real life, I'm friends with Russian people, Argentinian people, Moroccan for sure. So it's something that is reflective. It's not something that I made up.
Absolutely. So you're drawing from your own personal experiences, which makes it more believable, also. And just the fact that it's a very international grouping of people as part of the protagonists, I think makes it even like another layer of interest, because I too have lived abroad, and I'm familiar with the other cultures. And so I think it makes it so much more interesting that they are from different cultures and they intersperse their languages into the book while they're communicating with each other, which is sometimes a turn on. And I think a lot of women can relate, or even men can relate to the fact that sometimes someone having an accent can be a really big turn on,
Yes.
or even speaking in another language, which is a lot of fun too. Taylor Sparks has been my guest on Please Me twice. And during our last show, we created a curated store of my very favorite sex toys, lubes, and sexy accoutrements. These all natural products are not only game changers to add some spice to the bedroom, but also safe to use on all your sensitive bits. Remember, lube is for everyone, and sex toys are to be enjoyed solo or with a partner. So don't be shy and go treat yourself to a new fun and sexy toy or two. See the show notes for the link to the store. Happy shopping. So I love that she's such a strong woman. And I love what you wrote on the back of your book here that says the strong women and the men who are strong enough and worthy of them. And I can totally relate to that because not every man can handle a strong woman. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree. And I can tell you that not every woman, what I mean is, I got many reactions to her saying that she was not nice. She was bitchy. She
Mm.
wasn't patico. She wasn't sympathetic. And I think that if I called her, I don't know, Clark, and made her a man, people wouldn't react to her the way they reacted when she is a woman. Because you can have a woman say the exact same thing as a man, and they would think he is assertive and she's a bitch, which I'm not saying anything new right now.
100%.
So I made her strong and almost unapologetically.
But that's what makes her so attractive to the men because they like that. So,
some of them.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Although he's taken aback quite a lot by her too. But I think that's important to see because women are strong. And just because we're strong, it doesn't mean we're a bitch. And I think it's important to see these strong characters because it's not a negative thing to be strong and know what you want.
No. And again, if we go back to that communication issue, saying what you want, it sounds almost mundane. Say what you want, but many times we just don't. Whereas men communicate what they want all the time, have no problem with that, and we don't. And I think that's part of our upbringing that is very problematic.
I agree. And we live in a patriarchal society and we live in a man's world, right? So, how does one like her, Kelly, navigate in a man's world? And I know that you did it yourself for many years in the financial
Yes.
world, right? So, how does a woman navigate in a man's world without seeming bitchy, but also being powerful in her own right?
Okay, so you can't, for me, I couldn't avoid being bitchy. I just couldn't. And this is part of what you have to, the price you have to pay.
And I think it's semantics, right? Because you may say bitchy, where I may say she's a badass. Because
Exactly.
I like, yeah. And I don't like to look at it as her being bitchy. I like to look at it as her being powerful, her being in control of her life, and her knowing what she wants.
I'll tell you an anecdote. When I often was the only woman, as you said,
Mhm.
and stayed later because I was in a managerial job and I used to stay later, and mostly just the men stayed later and there were secretaries or whatever. They used to leave much earlier than I did. And so one afternoon, my boss comes into my office, says, listen, I need to ask you like this huge favor. And I say, what do you need? I need you to be my secretary. I said, what? And so he says, I'm luring this client and and my secretary has already left, and I can't ask one of the guys to be my secretary. I need a female voice, but you need to speak different. And I said, what do you mean different? He says, different than when you always speak. You don't speak like a secretary. I said, what? So what he meant was like, I would, even in my hello, sometimes I would say, hello, yes? Do you hear this hello?
Yeah, you weren't submissive. You were more of a dominant
I was
figure.
like, this is my time, and I know what I'm talking about, etc., etc. And so I had to, first of all, I had to sound different. Hello, this is na 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 na.
Did you say yes to his request?
Yes, because I was the VP investment. I wanted the client. I have
Gotcha.
he said it, he wasn't here to humiliate me or anything. He really needed a female to answer his phone and say, hi, yes, we heard now, and my boss will be with you in a moment. And do you see how I speak? And it's
Absolutely.
and if I was speaking like myself and he would say, oh, this is Mia, our VP investment, it would be, hi, How are you? My name, na, 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 na. You sound totally different. And it was so fun. He said, but you need to speak differently. And then,
That's so interesting. And did you end up getting the client?
no.
Okay. I hope he paid you extra for becoming his secretary for the day.
It wasn't for today. It was for this particular phone call.
Oh, it was just a
Because
phone
I
call.
didn't even,
Okay.
just the
Gotcha.
fun. I didn't even have access to his calendar because I really wanted his secretary. He made the appointment himself. He just needed me to,
Oh my God. He just wanted you to answer it and get you guys to talking. That is so funny to me. And
to make
so
him seem like he's more. He said this guy will only be with us if we seem like he doesn't speak to me right away. He needs to go through my secretary. And I said, I totally get it because so many guys are like that. Okay, I'll be a secretary. So.
that is so interesting and could have been a point of contention for you in that role because, of course, you want the client, right? But at the same time, he passed over all of the other people in the office, all of the men, and only asked you specifically because you were a woman, right? And that is more of a woman's typical role, which I think is so important why you make your characters such strong women who don't take no shit. Let's just put it that way.
I agree. I would find myself many times in meetings alone with men. I would never, ever offer the coffee or the water on purpose. I would always wait for the one of the other men to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Because you're there and your position is the same as all of the other men. So why should you be serving anybody else?
I wouldn't
Right.
even serve, offer. I wouldn't.
Right.
Do you see the difference? I didn't even want to offer because
Mhm.
that would. So you might say maybe you're too sensitive. Maybe no.
That's a power play.
It's a power play.
It's a total power play and smart on your part because as soon as other people see you in that role of being subservient to them, guess what? Now you're going to be collecting water, getting coffees and all this other crap, which you are absolutely hands down not going to do because of your position.
I wouldn't take minutes of meetings.
That too.
So that too. So there are so many holes you can fall into if you let them even once. So no minutes, no coffee, none of the. I am here at the meeting. I'm here to hear your pitch or whatever.
Just like every one of the rest of us at this table is, right?
Exactly.
So this is how you navigated in a man's world, and that translates to your heroines, which I find really interesting. I want to know where you get your ideas for your sex scenes and for the whole BDSM.
I just want to say that this book was written a few years ago, so I'm not so there's you haven't gotten to the best sex scene yet.
Okay, good. Good. I'm looking forward to it.
Which took me days and days to write. And then I would have, I think some of the scenes, I think I read versions of them in other places. They're not the first scene, which happens very early in the book. That just came to me. I thought he needed to do something for her and with no touching. So this was almost, and we can talk if you want afterwards about the best sex scene that you haven't gotten to yet. But
you can't give it up. You can't give it up.
no, but what I had back then, I don't have her, is my sex scene reader.
Okay.
This is a lady that is a very, very good friend of mine. She's even in the acknowledgements. If you get to the end of the book, she's in the I never know how to say this word.
You said it.
I said it. And so I would think of a sex scene and discuss it with her, write it, send it to her, and she would comment on the pace, if she got excited, if she liked it, etc. And so the sex scenes took me the most time and were rewritten many times. And by now, I really can't remember where the original idea came from because they also changed as I wrote.
And I love that you have somebody to play your ideas off of, because some things may be a turn on to one person and maybe not so much another person. And I always talk about the orgasm gap in my shows and how it takes a woman 20 to 25 minutes to really get herself ready for sex, whereas a man can be ready in 2 minutes, right? He just has
Yes.
to think of the thought and boom, there's the erection and he's ready to go. A woman
Yeah.
needs to get engorged and it takes more time. And so I appreciate definitely sex scenes that last longer. So I'm looking forward to that next one or the
I
one that
don't know
you're talking about.
I don't know where you are exactly. But if she already started working with the Israeli guy, then you're nearly there. Okay. And also what it was very important to me that the black moment, that the crisis comes with the sex scene. So there's that we'll look forward to as well.
Okay. There's a twist coming up soon. I love that the main character, Kelly, says to both men that she doesn't do relationships, right?
Yeah.
And that is very much breaking societal norms. And because I know for myself, in my experience growing up, no matter how successful I was in my career, etc., the first thing that my grandmother would ask me was, when are you getting married? And that was like for her the pinnacle of what a woman's worth is, right? To become a wife to a man and serve him. And I think that's a bunch of shit, you know? So I love that this character has that as part of what she like starts with. I don't do relationships. We can, have fun together. Where does that come from for you?
I've been married almost 32 years. So
Mhm.
this does not reflect my life at all. I do relationships. Before my husband, I was in a bunch of monogamous relationships. So this is not something, again, but it was something that was, and many of us need relationships in our lives.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely
It,
not.
as you said, though, it cannot be the pinnacle of a woman's existence, snagging a husband. But what we as modern women have and our predecessors didn't, even your grandmother, is
Right.
financial independence.
That's right.
Even if a woman wanted to be, not didn't want to go into a relationship, she couldn't afford to, right? Because how
Or
are you
until
going to?
recent or until recently couldn't even buy a house without a man's cosign, couldn't even have a bank account without a man's cosign. There are so many things that are just so new to us that we don't realize as young women. These are things that are just coming around for us as women.
And if we don't keep to it, if we don't guard it, it can be taken away.
And it is
I live in the Middle East. Do you
Mhm.
think in other countries women can do what I do? No.
Absolutely, you're right. And even here, where abortion is on everyone's minds now because it's being taken away from us as women. Absolutely, the power struggle of men and women having the right to their own autonomy in so many ways is so important to talk about in books and outside of books in regular conversations. So destigmatizing these conversations between women like you and I is so important. Wouldn't you agree?
Of course.
Mm-hmm. So I'm so excited to have talked to you today. And I want to wrap things up a little bit now because we're already past time and I knew we'd go over. But I want to do a little role play with you. And that's something that I'm doing in the season. And so I want to maybe do a little bit of a role play about you and I being friends and going out to maybe dinner and talking about our recent conquests with men. As women do, we like to talk about our relationships and our sexy time and all of that. So I thought that might be really fun. Are you
Okay.
game?
I'm game.
Perfect.
Hit
Okay.
me.
All right, very good. So I'm going to talk about, I want to bring in some safe sex talk with this one. So I'm going to be talking about my date with somebody that I met, and you're going to be my girlfriend listening, and we're just going to have some banter around that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And action.
Okay.
Hi, Mia. I'm so happy to see you tonight. Let's get some drinks and some food and let's talk. I have some stuff to dish about tonight.
Oh, hi, Eve. Please, I'm an old married woman. Please tell me everything that's happening.
Today, you're going to be living vicariously through me because
Exactly.
I recently met this amazing, sexy man, and I want to tell you all about him.
Go ahead. I'm listening. I'm on the edge of my seat.
So I met him at an event recently, and we just started chatting about what I do. And he was very intrigued about the podcast and liked to know more about what I do in terms of my sexual exploration. And so I told him that I was a switch.
Did he know what that meant?
He did actually. And it's interesting because most men that I meet like to be dominant, but he actually told me that he liked to be submissive.
Oh, interesting. Did he say, is he experienced? Did he do that? Or are you his first one?
He has had some experience before, and I've had a little experience. I dabble here and there. Actually, today I came dressed as my inner dominatrix for this interview.
I think you're in a dominatrix.
Yes, I'm exuding my inner dominatrix tonight. But yes, absolutely. And so it's been a lot of fun. But we've been talking just about the beginnings of what we want and don't want and setting the scene.
Excellent. So, like putting boundaries and what safe means for you, what safe means to him, etc.
Exactly. And for me, I'm very conscious about safety when it comes to sexuality and safe sex. So I told him that I do not swap fluids.
Obviously, you don't.
I love it. I love that you say obviously because a lot of people don't have these conversations. And when it comes to getting horizontal, they forget all of the important things like making sure you have condoms, barriers for oral sex, etc. And I just laid it all out there and he was totally fine with all of it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Because sometimes guys are like, oh, I can't feel, or oh, I don't like it, or and and I'm glad that he was submissive, right? So anyway, he's going to be more, I guess, open to stuff. This is so important, not not even in the sense of getting pregnant or sick, but even getting COVID. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
You
there's
know?
so many viruses and bacteria out there, right? You really have to be super careful, but absolutely. And so he was open. And so I showed him one of my very favorite barriers when it comes to oral sex on a woman. And he really was surprised at how much he enjoyed it.
What was the barrier? I'm sorry. I in the dark.
So actually, this barrier is an invention of mine, and it's
Oh,
actually a transparent film that I use, and it's adhesive and hypoallergenic and also antimicrobial. So it protects the woman when she's having oral sex with a new partner or anybody really. So I think that he was really surprised by that and surprised at how turned on he was by trying something new.
oh, and this barrier, it doesn't lessen the sensitivity.
No, because it creates a second skin. And because it's transparent, it's almost there's nothing there. The only thing that lacks is the moisture, right? But that came from his saliva.
Yeah.
and End scene.
Okay, nice. Okay, interesting.
That was a lot of fun.
Interesting. And this is, I can tell you that this is really the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't even expect that I was going to bring that up, but it just came up. And so there you go. I do have an invention that I'm working on. So investors out there, listen up because I need investors. But certainly, yeah, it's something that I created. And I think, in my personal opinion, that it will change the way that people have sex as condoms did. And it can be a huge product for really anybody involved because it can be used on women, but it also can be used on men too, over the anus for oral sex as well.
Listen, over the anus is super important.
Yes. And especially for women who may want to try something like that, but are maybe like not, they're turned off by the idea of it. It's a way to experiment in a way that maybe even some women with their current partners might be interested in. Yeah.
It sounds fascinating. Did you try it in real life or is it?
Oh, yes.
Better?
Oh, yes. I've tried it in real life. Absolutely. Absolutely. So more on that on another day. And you and I can chat about that after the show. But I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today. This was such a fun conversation. And I want to make sure that my listeners can find you. Where can we find you?
You can find me at my website. I have a website, which is Mia Sivan. If you Google Mia Sivan, there it is. If you Google it, you'll get to me because I actually tested a few pen names and this one was gets you straight to me. So
fantastic.
You can find me there.
Fantastic. So miasivan.com. And I want to make sure that my listeners can find me as well. On pleaseme.online, you will find everything that I've been doing for the past a little bit over a year since I started this podcast. And I have all the shows on there. But I just want to make sure that if you love this show, you share it with somebody. So please, if you listen to the show, pick up your phone right now, copy and paste it, and send it to a friend that you think will also benefit from hearing this show or that you think would love it as well. And always, please leave a review because that is how we grow as podcasters. And I'm happy to say that I am now in the 2.5% globally and growing. And so the goal is to be in the top 1%. So please continue leaving those reviews. And I thank you all for those people who have already done so to have left me a review. Thank you so much.
And authors also need reviews. So leave reviews on the books you read as well.
Fantastic. That is so true. That is so true and so important because that is how an author can become a #1 bestseller, right? So this is so important. So if you love a book or you love a show, make sure that you leave reviews. So on that note, I'm going to say again, thank you so much for being on the show today, and you have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Ciao.
During COVID, I gave up 3 things. One was not wearing makeup every day. Another thing was that I stopped working for other people. And so hence my podcast and hence my private practice, Inspire Health Physical Therapy. And the third thing I gave up during COVID was wearing a bra. Cakes is an incredible product that I've been using so that I don't have to wear a bra all the time, but I can look like I have a bra on. And what it does is it just covers up the little nipple show that you have going through your clothes, and it allows your clothes to fit you seamlessly and smoothly. And it is a beautiful product, and they are so much more comfortable to wear. It's so important to give your body time without a bra because just like any other brace, if you're wearing an ankle brace or a knee brace and you wear it all the time, it's going to cause atrophy around that joint. And the same goes for a bra. If you're wearing a bra all the time, it's going to also cause weakness in your pectoralis muscles. And the pectoralis muscles are the muscles that help you to lift your breasts. And if they get weak, your breasts will sag. So wearing cakes is really great for decreasing sagging. So I just wanted to come on here and tell you to get your cakes. And I wanted to share mine with you. Today I have the triangle ones on, and I'm going to show you how easy they are. They adhere without adhesive to the skin naturally. And you can see they come in different colors. So make sure you check out the link below and get your cakes today.